Empire.
Thought about the three, solid Turu out there. Here's Wiggins. 4 seconds to go. Morcell, deep three. It's good! 1.9 seconds to go. And Maryland leads 74-73.
Welcome to another edition of College Park. I am Kevin McClinton with my co-host Darren McClinton.
What's up, man?
On, D?
It's a hell of a game, wasn't it?
That was a great game. Great game.
These kids, they mess with my blood pressure, man. And I keep saying it. They've been doing it all year long, but, you know, they seem to find a way.
Yeah, they do. And I was a little worried because they were coming off that Ohio State game, that Ohio State loss. And because they hadn't lost in a while, I was wondering how they were going to respond, especially being on the road and against a team that needs it. I mean, Minnesota needs a big win on their resume because they're on that bubble, so to speak, and to get a win like that against Maryland would have been big for them. So I was a little worried, and especially the way Minnesota came out. They came out great. I mean, they didn't miss anything. I think they made their first 6-7 shots maybe, and you started to think that this might not be their night, but you know, Maryland persevered like they always do on the road, and they found a way to get it done, and that's a sign of a good team. So. You know, we'll just we'll hope to see if that continues.
Nah, you're right, man. With the Big Ten going the way it goes this season, man, it's like a middle of the pack Big Ten team is going to be in the tournament,
right? And
a couple of the bottom of the barrel Big Ten teams have a chance to make the tournament. So this was going to be a signature win for Minnesota, like you said, man. And I know they came out like gangbusters, man. The first half was 47-31.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, well, I've seen this movie before, you know, and they fight sticks. I was questioning that call by Terps whether to put him back in, because usually people stick to their guns and say, you know what, he's done for the half. But Maryland was down by so much, and he talked it over with his staff, and I could see it, and he put him back in and less than 30 seconds. It was like the first possession. It was a questionable call. That over-the-back call, it wasn't much contact right there.
But you know what's funny is that, and I remember when I played, how when you get 2 quick fouls or you get in foul trouble, when you get put back in the game, referees are looking for you. They're looking because they know you have 2 fouls.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it always seems like you get that third foul quickly. Or, you know, it's just like you're in a magnifying glass and they're just looking for something. And that was a questionable call. I know the commentators were talking about it. They thought that might have been a little questionable, and maybe you don't call that on Jalen Smith and, you know, somebody of that caliber. But he did a good job, man. I mean, he had to sit down the rest of the half, but then he came back in and really was aggressive.
All-American
really was
second
aggressive
half.
Because he was going against a cat, man. That Daniel Oturu is a monster. He is really, really good for Minnesota. He's a pro. And I was a little concerned about, you know, how Jalen would be if he was going to be aggressive, if he was going to be physical, if he was going to be proactive and try to really force the game. Because sometimes when you're sitting down for a long period of time and you don't feel like you're in it, you haven't gotten a lather, as you like to say. You haven't gotten a good sweat going, and you tend to force things. You know what I mean? But he played within himself, and, you know, he kind of got a couple ISOs, and, you know, he was able to kind of put a dent in that game. So it was good for Jalen. I was glad to see him come back out with that assertiveness.
Now, I had heard a little bit about Oturu, 6'10", sophomore, 240, every bit of 240. I think that's a little generous. He looks like about 250, 260. Yeah. But this was America's chance to get a great look at the young fella, man. Yeah. He is a bona fide pro.
Yeah, he is.
And then when Sticks, he doesn't see too many people of that size. You know, maybe Big Kofi in Illinois, but you know, to not see him go to a finesse game in that second half.
Right.
You know, he was down in the post, and Patino said before he went in the locker room that, you know, we've got their main guy with 3 fouls.
Right.
We're gonna take it to him in the second half. So I'm sure they talked about it at halftime. We're gonna need you to. He only played a total of 24 minutes.
Right.
And maybe 5 of them were in the first half.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, that was a big game by him to come out with 16, 12, and a couple blocks
in 24 minutes.
in 24 minutes.
Yeah. The thing I saw was I thought Terps did a really good job of mixing up his defenses. He went to a 3-2 zone, which is their base zone defense, and it caught Minnesota a little bit by surprise. Arturo's still hitting that little short jump shot from
He's got a nice looking shot.
Yeah, he does from the short corner. But I think it slowed Minnesota down a little bit. Mm-hmm. They weren't able to get out in transition because they were killing us in transition and on the offensive glass, especially early in the first half. And that kid, Marcus Carr, is a good point guard. I like him too. He played all 40 minutes. I think he leads the conference in minutes played. But I thought Terps did a good job of mixing up his defenses, and eventually they started to get tired. Minnesota started to get tired.
Yeah.
But one thing I'll question about Patino is he didn't really look to get the ball to Arturo, especially in the middle and the late part of the game when Sticks has 3 fouls. Mm-hmm. I was thinking that they might try to, play off him a little bit more, especially in the post, but they never did that, and I think that played into Maryland's hands.
Yeah, Sticks escaped that one right there, man. And Wiggins, for the second game in a row, came off the bench, and
Is he the X factor?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
A lot of times, guys with that much talent, you want them in there with that second unit, but sometimes they have that mentality like I'm a starter and I'm coming off the bench, but he's playing that role well, and he's giving Maryland that scoring punch that they need. I like it. He's still playing starter minutes. He played 28 minutes last game. So I really like Wiggins in that role. He's shooting it well from the outside.
Right.
He's kind of found his groove, and this is the perfect time for it, man. He stuffed the stat sheets in that game. He had 3 rebounds, 3 blocks, 2 assists, 2 steals.
Yeah,
go along with his 16 points, man.
Yeah, it seems to me when he's playing well, they play well. I think they were down 7, and they ran a play for Wiggins, and he got a 3-pointer at the top of the key.
At the top, yeah.
You remember that shot? And you could tell Maryland still had life, but they ran that play for Wiggins. And I think when you run plays for kids, they have a tendency to get more confidence because they know that they have a play run for them, and they know that this is their time.
Yeah,
and, Wiggins has been doing that the last couple games, and every time I hear when Maryland's playing, the commentators always talk about how talented he is.
His upside.
Yeah, he has a tremendous upside, and he's got to be the key because the one thing I'm concerned about with Maryland, and this happened last night, is their depth inside. That's a problem because if Sticks gets in foul trouble like he did last night, if you play against a team, especially in the NCAA tournament and the Big Ten tournament, you might not be as fortunate as you were last night against Minnesota, and that concerns me. They just don't have the depth inside to be able to withstand Sticks being out for a long period of time. Now, what I would like to see is a little bit more of your man Mariel. I would like to see him. Mm-hmm. I don't know why he doesn't play much. I think he came in early for Sticks when he got that second foul, but you didn't see him. I think he played maybe in the second half also, maybe played for a couple minutes. But I'd like to see him get more minutes, man. I just think he brings so much to that team, especially with his size and his defensive presence. I just like to see him get more minutes.
Yeah. He's like a unicorn, man. Not many people across the country have, that tool in the tools box. A 7'2" guy with that kind of presence.
Yeah.
Especially in the half court set on the defensive end, man. The rim protector like that. I'm not sure what it is, but I think Maryland needs to figure it out and to find a way to get him some more minutes going down the stretch because you're giving the other team a look that they're just not going to see anywhere else.
And he's not a stiff. It's not like
not
he
at
can't
all.
move.
Not
you
at
know
all.
What I mean?
This
like
is a
he's
5-star
athletic.
kid.
He's athletic. He can move. I thought he probably would have given Arturo some problems with that length and that size, and that worries me.
We'll see. I'm going to tell you what worries me.
What's up?
My guy, Anthony Cowan, is in a he's slumping right now.
Don't worry about him, man. He'll be all right.
Can't throw it in the ocean. And guys like that, they take a lot on their shoulders,
right?
And they're responsible for how their team moves,
right?
So my challenging statement is, Cowan, you need to do better. Okay, he didn't play a terrible floor game. He
had 9 assists.
He had 9 assists, only 1 turnover.
Right.
Big time players for big time teams in big time parts of the season need to figure it out. So I think he's capable. He'll figure it out. He needs to play better.
But there's so many different components to basketball, Darren. You know that. Like, there's scoring, there's rebounding, there's defense, there's there's so many different aspects of basketball. He didn't shoot well, but he still had an impact on the game. Even if it was just a swing, he get passing ball to Wiggins, who passed the ball to Morcell for that jumper, that hockey assist, so to speak. That's important. You know what I mean? And he wasn't shooting the ball well. I would have liked to have seen him take that shot from the corner, but he didn't. He passed it up. But he got another shot for a teammate. So I get what you're saying. I like the fact that he had 9 assists, 1 turnover. I like to see him calm down a little bit. That's what I would like to see, because he got his second tech in 2 nights. And teams, and that playing, when coaches see that you have a little bit of a streak in you where you get upset, they're gonna prey on that.
At you. Yeah.
They're gonna mess with you, because they know that's a way to get you out of your game, or more importantly, get you on the bench, with a tech or a foul or what have you. So I would like to see Anthony. I like the intensity. Yeah. But you got to channel it a little bit so you're not getting so upset where teams can all of a sudden take advantage of that. But he took good shots. He just missed them. I mean, it's one of them days where you just miss shots, and it happened, and but they still got the win. Yeah, they did. That's what good teams do. So.
This game right here reminded me of an NCAA tournament game. Minnesota was a 500 team. They were 13-13 coming into that game, and there was a freshman kid, Isaiah Einen, I think it is, a kid from Germany, 6'9" freshman. He comes in, his 3 back-to-back 3-pointers.
Right.
All of a sudden, already has his career high in the first half. That's the kind of stuff that happens in the first weekend of the NCAA tournament.
Right.
It's that one shining moment. It's that March Madness. So you've got guys playing, out of the norm.
Right.
So Maryland's probably going to face a team that, is going to be all geared up to play the Terps, and that's what this game kind of reminded me of. The rim gets a little bit bigger for these teams.
Right.
They were shooting 50-something% from 3 in the first half, and I was like, I didn't think they were going to pull it out. I really didn't.
Right.
And
it's the thing about also is that when you, just to your point, when you're the number 9 ranked team in the country, you're everybody's big game, especially at this time of the year, because teams are looking for that big time win. When you have your Rutgers and your Ohio States and your Minnesotas and your Michigans, they're looking for ways to improve on their resume. So you're going to get everybody's best shot. And that's what happened with Minnesota. They were coming at Maryland. They knew they had to win that game. And Maryland, to be honest with you, they have a little bit of a cushion. They have a 2-game lead over Michigan State. So they have a little bit of room for error, so to speak. So it wasn't one of those games where if you lose it, they're like, oh, my God, the sky is falling. But you want to be able to take care of business.
Yeah.
And especially if they're looking for a number 1 seed, number 2 seed, or whatever the case may be. But they took Minnesota's best shot. They took their shot, and they were able to stand up and fight and end up being the ones that come away with the win. So
that was the shot of Morcell's career.
I like how he stepped into it, though.
Yeah, he did.
He stepped into it like he knew he was supposed to shoot it. You know what I mean? Some people shy away from that moment. He stepped right into it, and that was Steph Curry range. That was 30-some feet, 35 feet.
Yeah.
So you got to like that, and that's going to give him confidence knowing that, he can make big shots. Because he was missing a lot of chippies, too. Did you see how many layups he missed? Missing a lot of chippies, so that'll give him confidence, going into the next game. But I'm excited about our guests, man. We got a nice surprise. We've got my former teammate and a good friend of College Park, Walt Williams, the Wizard, who will be coming on here in a few minutes, talking a little bit about Maryland basketball, and we'll dive in with Walt as far as what he sees with this year's team and how far they can go, and maybe do a little reminiscent about his days at College Park and our days together when we played. So I'm excited to talk to Walt and pick his brain about some things.
The Wizard.
Wizard.
What up, dog?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. We got myself and Darren over here, man. I wanted to chop it up a little bit with you, man. Talk about these Terps. But Walt, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on, man. We've been sitting here for the last 10 minutes talking about the Terps and that big win last night, and you know what's coming up for them, and kind of what we see as the season has progressed into this time of year. And so I wanted to ask you, man, what do you see? I mean, you have the opportunity. You're down there and at the home games, and you get right there on that court, get that courtside view. What do you see with Maryland this year? Do they have what it takes maybe to go to make this long run?
Well, they certainly have what it takes. They have all the elements. They are a solid defensive team. They have individual guys who are very good defenders, but also they play well as a team. They execute on the defensive end as a team. They present a lot of versatility where when you run pick rolls or things like that, they can switch. Bigs can guard little guards, and their guards are strong, so they can guard bigs. So most often they don't give up open shots.
Right.
So and then they rebound well as a team, and so they really get it done on the defensive end. Offensively, they've been trying to find a rhythm and find guys who play well together. I think the result of that, of them searching, is why Wiggins comes off the bench. He seems to have a little bit of a better flow in the offense. It seems a little bit more relaxed when he comes in the game off the bench, even though he plays significant minutes.
Right.
So, but I think that they can hurt you from many different places. But the problem is they just haven't been consistent with it on the offensive end. They have the element of a closer in Cowan and in Sticks. Both of those guys are capable of taking on the load down the stretch in clutch moments. But I think that X factor, the person who can get them playing well consistently throughout the game, is Wiggins, in my opinion. I think that if he can start to hit his outside shots on a consistent basis like he's been doing in the last two games, I think that the Terps, they can go to another level.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about, Wiz. It's funny you said that because Darren and I were saying that X factor is Wiggins, and it seems like when Wiggins is playing well, they play well, you know, because now you have that third scorer out there, and you can't really focus on Cowan. You can't really focus on Sticks, so you have to really pay attention to Wiggins as well. But I'll tell you something, man, the guy that I love him, man, and, you know, he reminds me of myself, is Morcell, man. I like, you know, he plays good defense. He can shoot the ball when he's open. He hit that big shot last night. He can pass the ball. He can handle the ball. And it seems like there's always room for a kid like that, somebody who just does all the dirty work, who does all the things that you need to be a good team. What's your take on Morcell?
You know, he's that guy. I agree with you. He's also, he can create his own shot. He can get to the basket. He got a good feel for that bully game, man.
Yeah.
And so he's good around the basket. He's very, very athletic, and so he can get guys into that paint and just go over top of them. The thing I like about him the most, though, and I think what he brings to the table that's so important for this team is, you know, for yourself, Juice, we out there and we playing in the game, and you know, the game is flowing right, and you're shooting jumpers and you're making layups and everything's flowing right. And then the defense goes, well, we can't win this way. I'm gonna smack you in the mouth.
Right.
And then what you going to do then?
Right.
And then that's when Morcell steps up to the plate, man. That's when Morcell excels in that environment and that type of game. And I think it's infectious when those moments happen. He's the guy that takes the load on his shoulder, and then the team follows. And so I think that's one of the elements of this team where they can survive in any type of environment, any type of game that's going on. I think that they can adapt and adjust and relish in any of those moments. And that one in particular is when I think Morcell rises to the surface.
Hey, Wiz, this D-Mac over here, man. I wanted to ask you this. They've got this game coming up this weekend against Michigan State. It's already pinned to be a college game day, and I know the atmosphere is going to be crazy at the Xfinity Center. I want to ask you and Juice, like, can you remember back of a game that had so much hype? You know, I remember coming to watch you guys play, and the Cole Fieldhouse was electric every time, all in the ACC games. But can you remember back playing in a game that had this much build up?
My memory is not all that great. I do remember this Carolina game. I can't remember how high they were ranked, but we won the game. I got a tip in the last few seconds.
I remember that.
Man, I remember the crowd just went crazy and they stormed the floor and everything. Yeah. I don't remember what it was like leading up to the game, but I know playing in that game in that environment, and then after the aftermath of it was like it was so electric. It was like probably no other game that I've played in. So that game stands out in my mind when you talk about that type of environment.
Well, I'll tell you the one that stands out to me is when it was my sophomore year. And Wiz, you had just gotten off your injury. It was the first game you came back, and I forget who we played. I don't know if it was Wake.
Wake Forest.
It was Wake. It was Wake Forest. And I remember because we didn't know if you were going to play. We didn't know how many minutes you were going to play. You had missed, I guess, 7 or 8 games or something like that. And I remember you came in and you must have scored. I think you had like 8 or 10 points. And it was just a matter of minutes. And I've never heard a crowd so loud in my life. And it was crazy because – you know, obviously we trying to win the game, but then when you got your star back and you got your main man back, and to see you out there playing, I think it just added to the team. And I don't know if you remember that. Do you remember that game, man? Do you remember that game when you came? Yeah,
absolutely. I remember because the funny thing about that game is, number one, I had been sitting on that bench. I had missed about probably like 14, 15 games at that point, and I was supposed to miss the rest of the season, but. Man, I wanted to play so bad. I mean, we didn't even have anything to play for.
No.
Just love the game, man. Just wanted to play so bad. Just wanted to get out there with my guys. And so as soon as I was able to tolerate, the pain, I wasn't in any real pain, I came back, and I was ready to do it. But the funny thing about coming into that game, when you out there in the game, you so zoned into your assignments and the execution of things, and you really don't. I really never really heard the crowd when we're out there playing and we doing our thing. I never really heard the crowd. But that game right there, when I checked in, I mean, I had goosebumps all running through me, man. That was the first time that I really heard the crowd before, and I mean, they were electric that night. So I know exactly what you're talking about. That was one of my fondest memories, and something I'll never forget because that was one of the few moments that I ever really paid attention to the crowd and what was going on. So, I mean, they were really, really loud that night. So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, for sure. I'll tell you, that brought back a lot of when I remember that game, it was one of those things where, you fighting, that's my sophomore year. We just, I thought we had a pretty good team. And then when you got hurt, that obviously made the task so much more difficult. But, you were always right there on that bench and you were cheering us on and giving us words of advice and support and all that. And then when you slowly started to make your way back and you were coming into practice and, I know it was still bothering you. I know you weren't 100%, but you came back out and you were just showing the leader and the captain and the player you were. And when Darren and I were talking about that, what game stood out to us, to me, that was a game that stood out to me. So I'm glad we both remember that, man.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Gary, he did not let me play in the first half, and I was so pissed, man. I begged him to let me play in that second half because I was just like, that's the reason why I got dressed, man.
Right.
Uniform and cheer.
You had to Willis read them, didn't you? You had to Willis read them.
I think that might have been the first game. I don't know, because you remember you used to wear your T-shirt underneath your jersey. You remember that? Yeah. And I think it might have been the first game where you put your T-shirt underneath that. I think that was the first game. That's the first game I remember when you had a T-shirt underneath. But, man, those are good memories, man. Those are good memories for sure. But let me ask you this, Walt. With the way the game is now, man, the game has changed so much since when we played. There's more of an emphasis on 3-pointers and spreading the floor and all that, man. What's your take on the way the game is now as opposed to the way we played it? And, back then there was more emphasis getting the ball inside and playing off inside play and this, that, and the other. But now the game is spread out and more up-tempo. And what's your take on the way the game is now? Yeah, we ran the flex. What's your take? What's your take on the game now, man? Do you like it, or what's your take?
You know what, man? Anybody knows me know I'm an offensive guy.
Yes, sir.
I think the way the game is played now is just so wide open, and it leaves room for a lot of points to be put on the board. And I think that's the exciting part of the game. Just seeing these young kids just score the basketball. But you lose a little bit from the game, the toughness of it all, the battles inside. I think that the way we played the game, you had to have a very high skill level because it was just the physicality could nullify a lot of natural things like athleticism and quickness and all of those type of things. And so I think it always reverted back to what's your skill set like. And I think so. You lose a bit of that, but I think you gain so much more in terms of how you play the game and how many points you can put on the board. I had the pleasure yesterday of doing the Prince George's County conference championship games with Flowers versus Oxon Hill and the girls, and Eleanor Roosevelt versus Oxon Hill and the boys. And in that girls game, man, the Flowers team was a lot bigger than the Oxon Hill girls, and it was just amazing to see the way they post fed. I mean, it seemed like it was a lost art.
Right.
They were just on point with it. I mean, it was beautiful basketball, and it sort of just reminded me the way we played back in the day.
Right.
And man, I enjoyed watching that, and enjoyed watching the way they fed the post, with the way the girls were posting up and sealing people, and just getting the ball inside and mixing it up. So it was cool to see that, But at the end of the day, the game is played from the 3-point line, and I think it leaves the game a little bit more wide open. And because you can't touch as much on the defensive end, athleticism is a lot more prevalent, and so I think that makes for a more exciting game. So I mean, in our environment, in the Bulls era, games in the 80s, something, 70s, something, and things like that, man, and you're just beating folks up. The New York Knicks and things like that. So I mean, I think the game is a little bit more exciting now because you take a little bit of the physicality away.
Hey, Wes, in the second half of that Minnesota game, man, I saw Sticks make a couple moves down on that block that I haven't seen him do. He was pounding it down. That was old school style like you're talking about. Yeah. And it's funny, we talk about the game changing. He made a couple drop step moves, and the commentators, they talked about that like it was something, out of this world. And that was just a normal drop step. Bigs aren't really doing that now, But it was good to see Sticks do that and really mix it up down there as well, as well as outside. He shot a 25-foot trailer tray ball that was nice too. So to your point, man, it's more perimeter oriented, but it was good to see Sticks get down there and mix it up a little bit with the big fella from Minnesota.
What'd you think about that kid from Minnesota, Wiz? Did you like him, the big kid, Arturo? I think he's a pro.
Oh yeah, I think he is too. I didn't know that he could shoot the ball from the outside like that.
His stroke looked nice.
Yeah, man, but he's good around the basket. I think when you run these in this pick and roll environment, man, when you go 1-5 pick and roll, if they're going to switch that, you have to have the ability to go to the block, and get that easy too, and take advantage of folks, And so I think that Stick to being able to do that, especially last year when that physical nature got on him and that body got on him, he would miss those layups often.
Yeah.
And so he just wasn't strong enough in his legs in particular to be able to handle the bumps and finish, but now he is. And I think you have to show that element. I think you have to show that you can take advantage of guys who are smaller than you. And the big from Minnesota, I mean, I thought that he did a good job of taken advantage of when Sticks was not in the game and got it going early in the first half. And, it just continued throughout. But I thought he got going when you don't have that Sticks is a good shot blocker with his length, and he plays really hard. He tries to be as physical as he can.
Right.
He doesn't allow guys to just take advantage of him, you
right.
know, and so he poses a threat where you can't just back him all the way underneath the basket. And so with that gone, I thought that the big from Minnesota, I thought he took advantage of that. And, even when Sticks got back into the game, he was just in a rhythm. I mean, I think he put up almost 30 and 11, something like that. So, I mean, that kid is one of the best in the Big Ten.
He's good. He's good. Let me ask you this last question, Wiz, because I know you probably got to run. Maryland, we came into the season knowing Maryland had a good team and knowing that they had the opportunity to go far. But at the end of the day, you're going to be measured and judged by how well you did. What do you think, or where do you think Maryland has to go to be able to call this a successful season? Now, obviously, you want to win the national championship. You want to be the last team standing. But where do you think, with where Maryland is right now, what do you think is considered and satisfying as a Maryland fan to say, oh, you know what, they had a successful season? Where do you think they have to go? Is it Final Four? Is it great Elite Eight? What do you think?
I think Elite Eight at the very least.
Okay.
That, you just have just so much depth. You have just so many ways that you can get it going, and you can adapt to all teams, I believe. So I think Elite Eight is the very least. When you get into that level of play, I mean, anyone can be beat.
Right.
It's not necessarily who the best team is, but up until that point, I think that you can impose your will. And if you're a championship caliber team, you should get through those levels and being able to get to the Elite Eight. And I certainly believe that the Terps are. I think they're a championship team, especially if Wiggins. And when I'm talking about Wiggins, I'm talking about specifically being able to hit the shots from the outside.
Right.
I think that him off the dribble, his defense, his rebounding, all of those things he's been doing on a consistent basis. But I don't think that that's enough for this team. I think that they just struggle shooting the ball from the three-point line, and
right.
he's a guy that should not be struggling from the three-point line. So if he plays to his capabilities, I think that, especially from the outside, I think that this is a very dangerous team, and Elite Eight is certainly somewhere where they can be. And in terms of the Big Ten tournament, we haven't had success. We've been getting put out in the first round
right.
the last few years. So I think you have to have some success there to keep your confidence growing, to carry yourself on into the NCAA tournament.
All right. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you. You know that, man. Thank you so much. We'll probably be calling you later on, man, sometime down the road before this Big Ten tournament and this NCAA tournament to get your perspective. And, I appreciate you, boy. I really do. Thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, anytime, man. Anytime. I can't wait to come on the show with you guys. We get to bring our conversations that's in
the text.
Behind the scenes, we get to bring it to light, man. So we do this on the regular. So it's always.
You already know. All right, boy. I appreciate you, man. I'll talk to you.
All right now.
All right.
Get ready for Saturday, man.
You know it. It's gonna be a big one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. It's always great talking to Wiz. When he went back to his era when he was playing, it just brought back memories, because I know I used to come and watch you guys, and it was like watching an NBA game, man. That Coldfield House used to be electric,
That dude was so special. He really was. It was amazing being on the court and getting with him and getting a front row seat as to what kind of player he really was. You know what I mean? And he was just, unbelievable basketball player, unbelievable teammate. And it's always good to talk to him.
And you can hear it when you talk to him. He's so passionate about the program.
Yeah,
and it speaks volumes when he stayed.
Yeah.
When he stayed in.
That was so big for us.
It was.
Yeah, it was. We got a big one on Saturday. Against Michigan State, round 2.
Doesn't get any bigger.
No, it doesn't. What do you see?
Cassius Winston is coming to town.
Mm-hmm.
Ant Cowan is going to turn it around, get out of his slump.
Did you mean to do that? You meant to rhyme that?
Nah, I can rap, man.
Okay,
But, hey, I got Ant coming out of his slump, man. It's going to be a head-on-head match, and I've challenged him. He needs to play better. He's the All-American.
Okay.
So I see a really good point guard duel coming up on Saturday.
So if he don't play, it's your fault. If you don't play well, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, you're going to take that responsibility?
I'll take that.
All right. Well, it should be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. I think Maryland's got over that obstacle of Michigan State, and now you have a 2-game lead in the conference, so you have a little bit of wiggle room. But it should be a good one. I'm excited about it, but I expect Maryland to win this game.
Yeah, coming into this game with that 2-game lead, it takes a little bit of pressure off of Maryland. But the Spartans come in here, they're putting pressure on you no matter what.
Absolutely.
They bring the noise, and so they're playing well too. They are playing well, so expect a good one.
Yeah, I think it will be a good one. Well, this is a good one, man.
And we're going to chop it up anyway.
We always do, man.
We always do.
Absolutely. So looking forward to this game on Saturday. Maryland is on a roll. We just got to keep it going. So for Darren McClinton, this is Kevin McClinton with another episode of College Park. Go Terps.